Hey, welcome to another edition of the J&J Sports Express. I'm your co-host, Jeff Cadillac, with my co-host for the next half hour, JB Ellis. How you doing, JB?
Doing good, doing good. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing good. And as usual, folks, we do 5 exciting games in the NFL each week. Want to recap a little bit about our records for last week. How'd you do last week, JB?
2-2-1. The Rams surprised me, but the whole Cup to and Higby and the rest of the team wasn't on offense, so I don't know.
Well, I liked San Francisco in that game. I went 3-1-1. I knew about San Francisco. I did another show on Monday night, and I explained my reasons why I liked San Francisco at home. I also liked the under in that game, and I also liked Jimmy G actually rushing for the over on the prop bet of 2.5 yards. He ended up rushing for 3, but I said there'll probably be a third down and something like that, and he'll probably run for the first down, and that's what he did, and he got the 3 yards. So I was 3 for 3 on Monday night. Couldn't complain.
Nice.
But yeah, another exciting week. It's already week 5 here in the NFL, and some of these teams, they surprise me. Some of them don't. Looking back at the last week, what game surprised you the most?
Be honest with you, I think the Giants, with their offense, the way that Daniel Jones ran for the 2 touchdowns, they couldn't do anything else offensively. Um, you know, Barkley was good, but it was just Daniel Jones running, and then he got hurt, and they put him in at receiver so that they could call
Well,
plays. And then when Tyrod got hurt, it was just a very weird game.
well, that game really didn't surprise me because the Giants, you never know what's coming. But the game that surprised me the most is the Jacksonville Jaguars. I picked them last week on my website, and I really thought they had a good shot at beating Philadelphia because of the Doug Peterson, you know, ingredient right there. He was coming back. They started out nicely. They were up 14-0, but I guess the message didn't get to Trevor Lawrence because he got 4 lost fumbles and an interception, and he basically lost the game for Jacksonville. They had a chance to beat Philly if they stayed on course. I mean, up 14-0, you gotta figure it's going to be a good game. But Philly, scored 29 straight points, and Jacksonville got a dummy touchdown at the end. And I was kind of disappointed because I really thought Jacksonville was going to, really do give them a good run for their money. But it happens. It happens.
It was definitely a strange game. That happened a couple of times last week. The Jets also beat the Steelers was odd. I mean, I know the Steelers have no offense, but
Well, Steelers brought in Kenny Pickett, and once you start changing quarterbacks at halftime, unless you're changing like Dan Marino for Joe Montana, things are going to happen. Kenny Pickett, he probably didn't take any plays in the first, in during the week. He didn't do any, first rep snaps. He comes in there, he's raw. They figure they throw him in there. Things are going to happen. That's what happens in football. You have situations where guys just get thrown into spots and they, haven't read the playbook, from beginning to end. But anyway, we got 5 exciting games this week. Let's get right into it. First game we're looking at, which is in London again, the Giants at the Packers. The Packers are favored by 8. Who do you like in this game, JB?
I hate having to pick a game where a team we don't know who's going to play quarterback. It's really hard to sit here right now. And Green Bay looked awful against New England, but how much of that is Belichick scheming the defense? Rodgers not trusting his receivers. He had a nice pass to that rookie wide receiver that he dropped in the end zone. But overall, he doesn't seem to trust his wide receivers. He seems to have a little connection with the new guy, Dobbs, or however you say his name. And then, I think they need to run more. The Giant defense is good, but who's going to play quarterback? Right now, we don't know. I know Daniel Jones wants to play, but is he going to be able to? I know that from what I heard today, they brought in Fromm. They had Webb out there. They're trying to figure out what they're going to do. I'd have to take like 15 points to go with the Giants if I don't know who's playing quarterback.
Well, to be honest with you, the reason why this line hasn't changed much because they're not exactly looking at like Joe Montana or Dan Marino. They're looking at Daniel Jones. Tyrod Taylor suffered a concussion. Jake Fromm. These aren't like household names anyway. So whoever you put in there in the Giants, I mean, to be honest with you, I like it, Packers. They got into a hole because Aaron Rodgers threw that pick six. Okay, it was 10-7 New England at halftime. They score on that touchdown. Instead, it's 14-3. It's a whole different ball game. Rodgers and company even said, and Rodgers even made a statement after the game, you can't sustain winning when you do it like this into overtime and everything. I think they get back on track. A lot of times when Rodgers comes back and he has comments about the previous game, he turns around. They were running the ball, no problem. And I don't think it was even New England because they had knocked Brian Hoyer out of the game. And then you got this guy, Bailey Zappi, coming in, third string. I mean, he looked pretty good. The guy has no fear. He came in. He could be, you never know. With Belichick and everything, the guy, he could turn around, say, you know what? Maybe Mac Jones isn't the answer. Maybe this guy Bailey Zappi.
What do you know about Bailey Zappi? Just before we move on, real quick.
He's from Western Kentucky. He was a third-round draft choice out of this past year. He looked good against the Packers.
He threw for miles and miles of passing.
He looked good. He looked good. And you know
He's
what?
Got an arm.
He looked good. He looked confident. He didn't really, turn the ball over. You would think a third-round draft choice. He was third on the depth chart for New England. But I got to tell you, I think the Packers put it back together. They blow out the Giants in London on Sunday.
I think part of the problem is they don't know how to game plan. I'm not saying that, you're talking about a Joe Montana. You still have to know who's back there. I kind of compare it to what happened with the Dolphins on Thursday night. They went ahead and played Tua, no matter what the injury was prior. Nobody knows. Some people say back injury. Some people say concussion. The doctor got fired. But had they went into that game and game plan for Teddy Bridgewater, they leave Cincinnati with a win. But they went in there.
I agree with you there.
With Tua as the quarterback. He got hurt. So now you got the other guy coming in with the game plan set for Tua. It changes how you call plays, the personnel, what you're going to do, how you practice. And I think that's the Giants' problem. Not that they're as good as the Packers, but the point is with the 8 points, not knowing who's playing quarterback, I think that makes it very difficult.
Well, you know what the thing is about the Dolphins? You forgot to mention that one's a lefty and one's a righty. That's a big change. It's like Steve Young and Joe Montana. One's a lefty, one's a righty. Even Jerry Rice had mentioned and said it in the past that he had to prepare differently for Steve Young than he did for Joe Montana because it was coming from the left side and not the right. So,
right.
But you know what? I think in this game, though, I really don't. To me, it doesn't matter who the Giants really put in quarterback. I still think the Packers are going to, I mean, the game plan, yes, Daniel Jones, they're talking about the same skill set. It's not like, we're talking about Hall of Fame quarterback going down and now you got a nobody coming in. The Giants are still the Giants. I think they're playing above their record right now. They haven't really played anybody that, scares me that they said, oh, wow, look, the Giants, won this game. Maybe they're for real. So far, they really haven't played anybody. And the only team that they played that was for real was Dallas, and they got beat. So, And this is another game that everybody's going to see that the Giants aren't for real because the Packers are a real team as long as Aaron Rodgers is there. So
I can't say the Packers are a real team. They have no balance on offense.
Yeah, they rushed the ball. They rushed the ball a lot. Look at the stats, my friend. Look at the stats. Aaron Jones and I forget who's the other running back right now.
Dylan.
They're getting a lot of reps. And that's what they're going to do against the Giants. But moving to the next game. So you're undecided about that? You kind of undecided?
I'll go with the Packers.
Okay. All right. Just making sure. Just checking.
No, we both went with Packers.
Moving right along to the second game, Miami Dolphins at the New York Jets. Miami is laying 3.5 on the road. How do you like this game, JB?
So back-to-back road games, different quarterback this week, but the Jets got a miracle win in Pittsburgh that they shouldn't have won. I think it ends for the Jets this week. I think Miami comes in. Their defense is really good. They're going to stop Zach Wilson. They're going to stop the Jets' attack. The Jets aren't going to be able to put up 20 points like they did last week. And, having a week to prepare with Bridgewater as the quarterback, that offense is going to be a lot better. You know, he has a lot of weapons there on that offense. I like Miami to win by over a touchdown.
Yeah, I like the Dolphins in this game. Teddy Bridgewater is more than just a backup. He's been a starter before, so it's not a question of him really learning the offense as much as possible. He's been there before, even though it's his first season with the Dolphins. The Jets got lucky last week. Kenny Pickett had thrown 3 interceptions in the second half. Zach Wilson, his numbers weren't the greatest. He also threw 2 interceptions, but he also ran for 2 touchdowns. Who's going to cover Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill on the Jets? This is a situation. Yeah, the Jets won last week. They played a bad Pittsburgh team who's trying to find their offense. Now they're giving the ball to Kenny Pickett. Okay, they won. It's an NFL game. They won. They move on. Now they're back home against the Miami Dolphins, who are definitely improved over last season. And one stat I'd like to give all the folks watching at home: the last 25 games between Miami and Miami and the Jets, the road team is 17-8 against the spread. So the road team in this division rivalry game is always coming out ahead, 2/3 of the time. I definitely like Miami. Their defense played very well against Buffalo. Their defense played well last week against Cincinnati, but Cincinnati scored a lot of their points in the fourth quarter. Change of quarterback didn't help either. Teddy Bridgewater had to get his, the cobwebs off. I think he'll be ready to go this week because they're coming off a rest. The team will be nice and ready to go, and the Jets will just go back to mediocrity after this weekend.
Yeah, I got to agree with you completely. I think the Dolphins have no trouble in this game. Division games are always tough because they know each other so well. But the Dolphins are lucky that their backup, he played quarterback at a high level for a few years in Minnesota. He's not going to have any issue whatsoever.
And New Orleans, he filled in nicely too.
Yeah, and he's not going to have any issue stepping in and taking care of dispatching the Jets on Sunday. Let's move on to the next game, this game actually intrigues me. We got the Bengals.
No, that's the Sunday night game. We're looking at, Dallas at the Rams. Rams are favored by 4.5, which I'll let you go ahead. Let me see what you think.
So, Matthew Stafford has to get the blinkers off. It reminds me if you ever seen horse racing when they put the blinkers on the horses, and they can only see a certain way. He only sees Cooper Kupp and Higbee. 27 out of 36 passes, just a tad under 80% to those two guys. You're not going to win ball games that way. I don't care how good Cooper Kupp is. That interception, me or you would have been able to pick that ball off eventually because we would have read the route and we would have taken it because we know where the ball's going. And now he's playing against the Dallas defense, which is even better than the defense he played last week. Dallas takes this game easily.
Well, I definitely agree with you on a lot of points, but I don't know how the Rams are favored in this game. I had liked San Francisco, like I said, on Monday night. People were touting the Rams. They're Super Bowl champions. They're not the same team as they were last season. Stafford was on a mission last year. This year, he's on no mission. He's more like, I won my Super Bowl. Let's move on. He is not playing with a purpose. He's basically falling back to Detroit Stafford, Mr. Throw It All. And if people don't remember, he put Calvin Johnson in the Hall of Fame because Megatron, because that's all he threw to in Detroit. You couldn't even name another wide receiver. He gets too comfortable with certain wide receivers. That's why Detroit lost, because he did not spread the offense enough. Defense, they would tee up on that. They would look to see, hey, we know where it's going to go. Eventually, we're going to get it. Calvin Johnson got his balls. Now Cooper Kupp is getting it. The offense is stagnated in LA. The Rams are not playing like they did last year. I mean, Bobby Wagner's best tackle on Monday night was tackling that fan who ran onto the field. He's been like invisible so far this season.
But you can't blame the defense for that game. It wasn't the defense's fault.
Listen, the defense, it takes 2 parts to win a game. The defense was not making the stops because Stafford was sacked 7 times. You know how many times Jimmy G was sacked? 0. That tells you that they are not putting pressure on the quarterback. And now that Jimmy G is getting back into the groove, San Francisco is going to be dangerous. They're going to be a team to reckon with because he knows that offense. He didn't go through the training camp like Trey Lance did. Jimmy G was sitting out there going to, he was enjoying his summer. He wasn't in training camp because they already told him, we're looking to trade you, release you, do whatever. Don't come back. We understand. Trey Lance got the whole training camp for San Francisco. Jimmy G didn't. But you're going to see Jimmy G is going to get into a nice groove. He had some passes that went overhead on Monday night, but they still won. So give them time. San Francisco is going to be running, but the Rams, forget it. They're terrible. It's not the same team. Dallas, last week, I knew they were going to beat Washington. That was my pick of the week on Twitter at Jeff Cadillac 1. Dallas, their defense, look, they're stopping guys. They let you run up and down the field. That's no problem, but they're not letting teams get into the end zone. And that's the main purpose. You want to kick field goals all day? That's fine. 3 points here, 3 points there. That's fine. They only gave up 1 touchdown to Carson Wentz, and they sacked him a few times. And they intercepted him 2 times. So I think the Dallas defense this week is definitely going to go off on the Rams. The Rams are a mess. I'm not a big fan of Sean McVay. I think once he gets a lead, he sort of sits on it. He's very conservative. He plays not to lose. A few weeks ago against Atlanta, they had a nice big lead. They got away from the game plan, and they let Atlanta come back into it, and they had to take a safety at the end to preserve the win. That's not the way, good teams finish out games. But Dallas and Cooper Rush, forget it. I mean, the guy is playing lights out right now. He's doing what needs to be done. He's taking exactly what the defense is giving him. He is not pressuring anything. He's not trying to thread any needles. He's doing what he needs to do, but the running game has to get going. Ezekiel Elliott is not getting the job done. 50 yards a game for Dallas in rushing is not going to hold it,
You can't blame Zeke for what's going on there. He's got to get the ball to have the yards.
Right, but he's not making the most of it when he does get the ball.
He's averaging about 5 yards a carry.
He's not, believe me, he's not doing
what would you like the guy to do?
He's one-dimensional, my friend. All he does is
5 yards a carry.
5 yards a carry. Okay, maybe last week. But I'm not – I still like – so we're in agreement that Dallas is going to win this game, right?
Yeah, Dallas walks all over him because their defense is too good. Who's he going to throw it to? To Kupp and Higbee. And what's going to happen? He's going to have how many picks this week? You got to throw the ball. Got to throw the ball, Robinson. You got to throw the ball to different guys.
I'd say
Henderson back there.
Two.
Jeff, we lost you.
You got me?
Yeah, you're back. Go ahead.
Okay. Stafford's going to have 2 interceptions, 1 lost fumble, and he's going to be sacked about 5 times. That's going to be the line for the game.
Ugly. It's just ugly.
Yeah.
Let's move on to the game I teased before.
Right. Sunday night. Sunday night, this is a game that gave me a lot of problems in trying to figure it out. But I
want you to go first on this one.
You want me to go first?
Okay. I want to hear your analysis because this game intrigues me.
Okay. This game was very tough to decide because there's a lot of factors that are, in trying to figure this one game. They're in the same division. They both know each other very well. Cincinnati won the series. They won both games last year against Baltimore. There's a little bit of a revenge factor here. Lamar Jackson is playing, for that new contract. Joe Burrow is as cool as a cucumber. And also Baltimore's on a bounce back. But one of the things that I'm a little concerned about Baltimore is that they're 30th in total defense in the NFL. Their secondary, and which I tell everybody, their secondary stinks. It could be beaten. You get enough passes back there, they get beat. That's why they are where they are right now. That's why they're 2-2 and not 4-0 or 3-1 because they get beat. Against Miami, they gave up so many yards. I think I just heard they scored another touchdown because that's the problem with Baltimore's. And then John Harbaugh, he's making decisions against last week against Buffalo, cost him the game. He's making rookie mistakes out there. Who's he think he got out there? This is not, you make mistakes and you give the other team chances, it's over. And Buffalo, and they were up 20-3 in that game. There's another game they just blew, and they lost 23-20. You cannot give teams hope. You got to bury him when you can, and that's the problem with Baltimore. They don't do that. Then you got the Bengals. Bengals are starting to come around right now. Burrow was only sacked one time last week, which is very good, because you can't have a quarterback that's always eating dirt all the time and can't see what's going on, and there's so much pressure. Finally, that revamped offensive line is doing their job, and Cincinnati +3. Baltimore definitely is on a bounce back. Cincinnati beat Miami on Thursday night. They're well rested. I got it. It almost is like a coin toss, but I like the points here. I think Baltimore maybe wins by a point or two, but I like Cincinnati getting the points on the road on Sunday night. They're not afraid.
So I agree with almost everything you said. So, I mean, Cincinnati, to start with them, their offensive line has done a much better job keeping Burrow well. The Bengals, the Ravens secondary has gotten beat time after time. So, the Bengals have some good wide receivers. They have a good quarterback. So they're not going to have trouble scoring. The Ravens, on the other hand, can't hold leads. They've done a lot of different things where they blew huge leads to Miami and Buffalo, and then their coach, who isn't helping them with Harbaugh, and he did this last year too. There was 2 games they should have won last year where his coach's decisions cost him 2 games. And he's already done it once this year. So, you add that all in, I got to go with the Bengals here. I think that they're going to win. It's going to be a close game. It's not going to be, it's not going to be like where I said the Dolphins or the Packers, they're going to kill them. It's going to be a close game. It's going to be fun to watch, but the Bengals are going to take care of business. It's going to be probably a 2-point game either way, but sitting with the 3 points, I'm nice and comfortable. I don't have to worry. I think the Bengals have no trouble with moving the ball, and if they're going to need a score at the end, which I foresee, I'm not thinking that the Ravens can stop them.
Yeah, Joe Burrow, he's very cool. He knows how to throw the ball away. He knows how to get rid of it. He's like a seasoned veteran out there, and I'm very impressed by his skill set. He's got a very high IQ football rating, I'd have to say, because he just knows what to do. He doesn't, put the team in a hole. Some guys try to make something out of nothing, like Baker Mayfield in Carolina, and that's not what happens. He plays smart. He says, you know what, we won't get the whole thing on one play. We'll get it on the next play or the next 2 plays or the next series or something. Or if he figures it out and he knows what he needs to do. And I really like what I see from him. And I agree with you, the Bengals. I like the Bengals in this game.
So we right now are the exact agreement on all 4 games.
Okay, going to Monday Night Football. The Las Vegas Raiders at the Kansas City Chiefs. Chiefs are favored by 7. Go ahead, JB. You're up.
I mean, I gotta like the Chiefs. The Chiefs are just the team. I know the Raiders play them tough, and they seem to have trouble with the Raiders. It's been historical the last couple of years, but I'm not going to go against Patrick Mahomes. The guy can throw the ball from any position, any part of the field. Sometimes it hurts him. I think it hurt him in the AFC Championship game that changed the whole game around. But when it's all said and done, if I'm going to put money on it, I want to have the best guy. And the Raiders just haven't looked good this year. They're not the same team as they were last year where they were up and coming. So, I mean, if I'm looking at this, their defense has gotten better in Kansas City. It's still not great. It still has a lot of work to do. Their offensive line has gotten better. Again, still has work to do. Not the team they were a few years ago.
Raiders, let me tell you something about the Raiders. They always find a coach who gets them going in the right direction, and they fire him. Josh McDaniels, he finally got a win last week. Big deal. They beat Denver. They were lucky to get a fumble by Melvin Gordon and return it. They made Denver just chase them all game long. I'm not impressed by the Raiders. I never was impressed by Derek Carr. He's got happy feet. He gets nervous. The Chiefs are going to put a whole lot of pressure on him this week. Denver didn't put pressure on Derek Carr, and that's why they fell into trouble. And Denver's got their own problems. But the Chiefs, Mahomes on Sunday night against Tampa. Well, Tampa started out in the hole because they fumbled the opening kickoff, okay? So Tampa was chasing the Chiefs all night long, but Mahomes made Tampa pay. I mean, that Tampa Bay defense, where were they? It seemed like he it looked like he was playing men against boys because Mahomes had his way with them, and the Chiefs, it was a little bit of payback. Tampa's got their own problems. I don't think they're the same team with Todd Bowles as the coach as Bruce Arians. It's a whole different mindset. Todd Bowles, I think, is a little more laid back, and you saw what he did with the Jets years ago. I like the Chiefs in this game. I think they're going to blow out the Raiders on Monday night. I really do. I don't see them losing. I think they're on a mission. The Raiders, they had a nice game against Denver last week, but they're not going to do it 2 weeks in a row. I think the Chiefs are going to win by at least 10 points in this game. And,
this is scary. So let's stop the presses. We're 26 minutes in, and we both agree on all 5 games. You did a bad job picking games. You got to find something we disagree on.
Well, it happens. Sometimes you have some weeks where people agree on the games. That's just the way it is, my friend. I mean, you can't argue about something like that. But I do see some games this week that definitely intrigue me. San Francisco is at Carolina. I want to see how they bounce. How San Francisco basically moves forward after that nice game against the Rams on Monday night. Carolina is just god-awful terrible, and we'll see what happens there. You got Philadelphia at Arizona. That's going to be a good game. We'll see if Philadelphia can take their winning ways on the road again, and see if Arizona will be up to the test. I mean, Arizona beat Carolina last week.
We're 4 weeks into the season, almost a quarter of the way through. What team has shocked you the most?
I'd say Philadelphia. I'd say the Eagles. They're 4-0. Nobody expected them to be 4-0. They're playing well on both sides of the ball. You can't complain.
Who have they played that,
Well, they've already beat Minnesota.
That's nobody special. Detroit.
They beat the Jags.
But
they're winning games that they need to win. And
right. That's why I'm not really shocked by them, to be honest with you. Right now, the team that I'm actually most surprised with, the Lions, how their offense is amazing, and yet they played decent defense last year. They should be winning games. Their defense has regressed so bad.
Yeah, they have no defense.
That
they gave up 48 points against Seattle.
It was
and how were they favored in that game? I don't understand.
No, I don't get that either.
I loved Seattle in that game getting points.
It's scary. So where can people find you, Jeff?
Okay, you can find me at jeffcadillac.com. I'm writing some articles for sportskita.com. I'm doing guest spots for Better Sports Network. You can find my best bet of the week on Twitter at jeffcadillac1. And you can always find me every Wednesday night right here on Sideline Sports, the J&J Sports Express.
So I'm JB _ the program on Twitter. Tuesday night, Sideline Sports, 8:30. Next week, Tuesday, the last show for Confidential. I won't be hosting, but definitely watch it. Season finale. Wednesday night here at 7, 9 o'clock on the Sports Exchange on the South Florida Tribune. And who knows where else I'll be. But another great week this week. I don't know. Our records are going to be the same, I guarantee you, next week. So no matter what happens, there will be no separation between the two of us. Jeff's up 2 games in the pick so far this year. I'm not making up any ground this week, which is disappointing.
Okay, that's okay. Well, listen, enjoy the games, everybody, and we'll see you next week.